Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Foregrounding Street Food, a panel that celebrates the smoky, sizzling, gloriously chaotic heart of global cuisine. Anthony Bourdain once said, "Street food is the salvation of the human race." A bold claim, but if you've ever had a life-changing taco from a cart with one wheel missing, you know exactly what he meant. Street food isn't just about hunger. It's about survival, joy, rebellion, and sometimes about trusting a complete stranger with your intestinal future. Over the last couple of decades, something shifted. Suddenly it became cool, even expected to eat from carts and stalls. The gastro curiosity has made many of us into pilgrims, searching for the best dumpling, the best chicken and rice, or tacos that tell stories from a place far away. I'm going to start this panel by asking my panelists about nostalgia, because I think the key ingredient here is always nostalgia. So, Sibte, could you walk us through what was your most memorable adventure in terms of street food?
I think it wasn't an adventure. It was my dad who used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and just drag me out of bed and let's go get nihari and siri pie and naan from fresh before even the shop really opens. And I remember like sitting on the left seat with the newspaper filled with naan. They're not supposed to be stacked on top of each other, but scattered so they don't get mushed. And that smell of the naans with the sesame seed on it, and while he's driving, I'll be nibbling on those. That's my favorite part of nostalgia. If you talk about nostalgia, that's the first thing comes to my mind.
Yeah, I guess just to Sibte's point, it's such a sensory experience and it is so, so deeply nostalgic. For me, it's a similar story. Mine is my grandmother. I just met a cousin today after 15 years and she knows my grandmother, knew her. And she used to drive at 10 miles an hour. And we would go on we would sneak off on these little journeys, the two of us, and listen to her Bollywood songs that every time I would have to take the tape out of the cassette player because it would unravel, put it back in. And we would have these hot pakoras, from yesterday's news, but very much feeling in the moment. And it was usually when it would be raining. And it's an interesting thing with these pakoras. I found out that people used to make them around the time of spring when they would celebrate their vegetables and use any kind of vegetable in it. So for me, that particular, now anytime it rains, and I think a lot of us resonate with that, we think of home and we think of these hot piping pakoras or samosas and the beautiful people that were around us. And yeah. I could go on.
That's amazing.
He's like,
yeah, one of the things that we spoke about when we met was the idea of taking someone to your secret spot, right? I mean, we live in this amazing city where, in Jackson Heights, for example, you can start by having Tibetan momos and end up with the arepa lady and, have Bangladeshi fushkas and all that stuff. Sibte, your restaurant, BK Jani, used to be my secret spot, but it's not a secret anymore. Could you tell us how this inspiration began and especially the name?
We don't have enough time to talk about the name, but I'll give you a very short one. How many people know Noor Jahan, the singer? All right, how many people know the song Main Te Mera Dilbar Jani? Okay, that's the inspiration. And I used to have a license plate for 12 years. It was DLBRJANI. So people who would understand, they would honk and either give me a thumbs up or a clap or something. So that was quite awesome. And when I started this restaurant, that was out of the sheer void that was in the city. I could not find any good chicken tikka. Going back to my parents' my dad would come home and see my mom struggling, not struggling, that was her love language, to feed us all the time. But she would be a little bit tired or something. My dad would just shut the stove off and say, let's go out. and the food is half cooked, which was like, nope, we're gonna go out. You're too much in the kitchen. We need to go out. So the love letters that my dad used to write to her was through actions of taking us out for dinners and all these food excursions. So I used to, moving over here, and there was no real lamb chops or real chicken tikka. All the chicken tikkas you could find were sitting on the shelf for 12 hours, and they would just reheat it. And that's such an insult. Like, we are all about like fresh stuff in Lahore, and everything has to be done over there. And that was one point that I could not find anything fresh, anything tasty. Everything is shan masala. It's nothing against shan masala, but when you're overdoing, you make a really red chicken tikka. That does not exist. So that was one part. Second thing was there was no halal burger. There was not even a single real halal burger available. And I told my friend one day that he took me to Steinway once. And he said, you're going to have the best halal burger. I took a bite. I said, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever had. And he finished, he goes, you don't know anything. I said, one day I'll make it. And that's how BK Jani started, to fill that void of fresh, real halal stuff.
Brilliant. Mumtaz, there's a quote in your book which I think, really hit home for me. And it goes like this: when you have more than you need, build a bigger table, not a higher wall. Could you elaborate on that? Like, where did that come from? How did that get into the entire narrative of this beautiful book, by the way, available in fine bookstores everywhere?
So this book, my co-author Laura Kleinstra and I started to talk about it during COVID, when we were feeling extremely isolated and quite lonely, missing home. I was missing home. She was missing New York, which was her home. And we were just feeling like, in terms of, we wanted to, anyway, come up with a book that felt exclusive and expansive, not exclusive. And that's basically how we were feeling like everything was polarized, whether it was religion, whether it was culture, whether it was, just people gathering together. And we wanted to create a space where we had our favorite moments from all over the world, not just from Pakistan or Michigan, where she was. And the idea was that the one universal language is food. And when you're sitting down on a table, be it politics, be it anything, for a few moments, you're enjoying the moment and the food. And that was our kind of love letter to anyone, whether they were in any part of the world where they could have access to our recipes. So that's how it all began, in some sense.
Yeah, and I think we also spoke about the intimacy of it, right? The intimacy of the Nawala,
Right.
which is such a beautiful word.
It is.
It's a mini taco, but it's something that it's the first thing you have when you're a baby, because your mother feeds it to you. And then could you talk a little bit about that? Like, how important was it that these little morsels of food are the vehicles of intimacy?
Well, the Niwala is a very intimate thing. As we were talking about, my father's Niwalas are the absolute best. And it's about combining, whether it was a halwa puri moment, it was about getting just the right amount of halwa and the right amount of chana, sweet and salty and just perfect. And no matter how many times I tried to recreate it, I was unable to. And my mother was not a Niwala person. In fact, she would say, go and wash your hands. This is ridiculous. So, but it was, and we can't go around accepting Niwalas from just anybody, So it is an intimate moment, but we can, I guess, as we talk about food and we cook for others, it can be our version of a Niwala, right? What do you think, Sibte?
That's true. And actually getting the Niwala, the lukma from your parents when they see you and they just raise their hand and you just focus on like a hawk and you just go grab it before your other brother jumps in. I think that was awesome. That was just one little thing that was just full of so much love. That's the best part.
That's awesome. And I think, just going back to that whole intimacy thing, I think we, the Pakistani customer is a very difficult customer to cater to.
Yeah, we can have another forum on that.
Yeah, and it's almost like when you're trying to present your food, which, is fabulous, they're teetering on the edge of comfort and being threatened. You said that to me, and I've been thinking about it since. Can you talk about that? Like, why would they feel comfort and be threatened?
So I love my halal customers. I love all of them, but not all of them like to get my affection back. So they will walk in and they will, first of all, they'll pick up my menu and just turn it around like, this is it? That's all you have? And yes, that's all we have. You don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have this. They want to like point out what is missing. And then how do I know these things? How do I cook? Like, what's behind this whole thing? They would not understand a lot of things. They want to pinpoint what is missing. So my latest story is about this uncle who's slightly annoyed with life. And he's sitting there and he goes, oh, my daughter told me that you have a nihari. I said, yeah. How does it come? I saw a picture. It's in a something like that. I said, no, it's a sandwich. No. Do you have naan? I said, yeah, I have naan. Can you give me the regular way? I said, no, I don't have that. But you have a naan. I said, yes, I do have a naan. Can you give me in a bowl? I said, no. He goes, I don't want that then. I said, all right, you're going to get some chops. And he sits there. And I said, do you want to try it? He goes, no, I don't want to try this. Completely like shutting me away, like absolutely, I won't even try it. I said, no problem. And knowing a slightly grumpy uncle who's hungry, what's the best thing? I sent a nihari sandwich off to him. And I didn't go myself because I know he will fight me. And I sent one of my girls, I said, just go and give it to him. So he sits there, looks at it, all right, takes a bite, and then obviously through his journey of finishing it, I went up to him and I said, how is it? And he goes, he has a big smile. He goes, it's confusing. I said, what's confusing? He said, I close my eyes and I'm eating nihari. I open my eyes and it's a sandwich. And I don't get it. So, and that was his thing. Like he had from this grumpy uncle, he was so happy. He was just like he was so joyful. And that is one of my latest stories. The way he said it was, कि यार मैं ना confused हो गया, मैं अक्खां बंद करा तो मैं निहारी खा रहा ते अक्खां खोलना तो मैं सैंडविच खा रहा ਇਹ बड़ा confusing है यार मेरे वास्ते.
That's the best story.
I love that you never compromise.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have forks and knives, and you're supposed to drink the dal without a spoon also.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mumtaz, in this book, there's a mix of various cuisines from around the world. Your particular section, how did you, I mean, there's so many foods you could have thought of and so many foods that, you know, are important to us in general as a culture. How did you decide on that limited number of items? Like, how did you pick and choose?
Well, in terms of the street food one, or just, I mean, I guess this book, it's again the whole idea of bite-sized food so that everyone can share. And again, when it was done, when we thought about it during COVID, it was a time when we never thought we could ever share a meal with anyone again. It was, everyone was being given boxed things, whether it was, lunches or dinner. The idea of a spread just was like, never again. This is the time we were like sanitizing our groceries as they were arriving from Whole Foods or Amazon and all of that. So when we came up with the idea, it was like, we were hopeful that one day people will get together again. And while, we don't have like credibility in the sense of we're not experts in each and every kind of cuisine, be it Italian, be it Mexican, be it French, but it was our favorite top of the pops from each one. Like when we traveled, somebody else's table, somebody else's grandmother. And with the street, and for Pakistan, which was the most difficult chapter for me because I have so many favorite foods. Pakistan, like, there's so many things, halim and biryani and nihari. I'm like, how can I represent myself in this book, in this one little section? And it was street food, because that's what I crave most. And again, I think it's because it's an equalizer. Yeah. It's not, it's when you're standing on the, whether it's a cart, whether it's a little dhaba or a shop, everyone, be it a businessman, be it somebody who's, cleaning, next door. Everyone is standing in line waiting, and nobody gets to cut the line. And I just love that piece of it because it becomes a place of shared conversation and experience, and that I miss. But I wanted to bring that home here. Like, I don't know any great chart place. If any of you do, please let me know. It really, and then, so yeah, and every story or everything in the book is associated with the personal story. The bun kebabs, which, now, as Sibte kind of created the desi burger, which then, there's so many, and I love going to Sibte's restaurant because of that reason, because it kind of, for that moment, Sibte comes, he makes sure he'll come and sit, he'll give some special secret items from the menu, by the way, which you should just go in and be like, where's the secret dishes? And he makes you feel at home again, which is, what brings us all together, whether it's South Asians, I think just human beings, when we're able to just break bread together.
Yeah, so going back to the street food part, one thing that a lot of people, why does the street food even is going back to the Anthony Bourdain quote, because there's no fluff. It is exactly what you're going to be given. There's no drama. There's no flames. There's no smoke coming out of anything. There are no like 5 people trying to fill your glass and just like nothing. It is exactly what it is. And that's what's the most amazing romantic thing about street food. And that's, it's also a badge of honor for a Lahori like me. Like I know a place, a secret place. Like if he comes, visits me, I'm like, I know where to take you. Because there's not going to be like anything, any red carpet for me. It's just, we're going to sit on a broken stool and we're going to get the best thing. And that's the most authentic thing about street food. And it could be dahi bhalle or chaat or whatever you're going to get, or biryani. Everybody's standing in line and they know they're going to get it. And they're not going to get they won't have the authority to cut the line because they'll be called out. There's no fluff over there. And that's what I love about it.
That's amazing. And like she said, it's the ultimate equalizer. Another thing that's an equalizer is the cheeseburger. And I know you were inspired to find the best burger. And even in Pakistani culture, the burger is a pretty predominant, street food. And it's also a social slur.
Yes, it's a social, yes.
So, and in your mind, when you had that first cheeseburger, what was that experience and why was it important in the current story you're telling through your food?
So my first, how many people were in Lahore in the early 80s to experience Burger 11? 1, 2. All right, that was my cousin. He passed away. He started Salt and Pepper after that. And then he moved, then he moved over here. So I always loved the idea of a burger. I always wanted to have the best burger. Obviously, it didn't happen after a while. And my wow moment happened in 1986. I was coming back with my brother and his friend from Wisconsin back to Minneapolis. And we stopped at the gas station. And I was 12, 13. And I had the first cheeseburger, the real cheeseburger. I could not forget that. So once I got to the platform, I started BK Jani and stuff. So somebody said, why don't you have cheese on your burger? Big conversations. And then I had an idea, why don't I just bring back that particular cheeseburger that I tried in '86? So that is called the Backyard Burger. And every time I would have it, I would literally close my eyes and travel back to Wisconsin to the gas station where I had it for the first time. And I think that was a very beautiful moment. I remember that. I was in awe. I could not understand how this thing is working for me. And I recreated it now.
Sticking to burgers, the bun kebab is just a burger that hasn't worked out yet, And it's also very, very essential, an essential part of the city you grew up in. Could you talk about your first experience with that specific thing? And why is it so, it's a very Karachi thing because you can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, I believe the first time they ever made bun kebab was around like 1971, where they were serving it to people who were lining up to get tickets for at a cinema. The cinema shut down soon after, but it's one of the largest shops that serves bun kebabs. And when that popularity happened, then they kind of sprouted around all over. And one of the places that they did was this place called Zainab Market, where they have all of these, it's like this endless market. And for me, my father, again, is kind of like, I guess now as we're kind of we live here, he gets very concerned every time I go back, and he says, make sure you boil the water you brush your teeth with. And so when I go, I have to hide with my aunt, and we go and we eat this burger, and we savor every second, every minute. We get the driver, two of them, because then he's not going to tell on us. And and then we have to get rid of all evidence and anything. And then if I am sick the next day, which sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not, it's worth every minute. But there's never any talk of having had that burger. And I think that is the whole piece about it, right? Like, just, it doesn't matter. It's okay if the tummy is going to be not so good the next day, but it's that garam,
It was worth it.
worth every second. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to kind of ask you guys is, we're talking about these foods that have not only inspired you, but have inspired others around you. And what is the next thing that you feel you're inspired by? What type of cuisine, what type of thing? I mean, we live in this wonderful city where we have access. What is inspiring to you now?
That's a very difficult question.
That's why I asked it.
Yeah. I think so if I really take a step back from everything and see what I'm doing right now, is going back to this one comment this uncle made, this is like 7 years ago. He was the father of my customer, regular customer. He comes, he visits, I don't know how, they showed up, they were sitting, and they were, again, this guy was just looking out the window, not even concerned with his wife. And I bring in lamb chops. I go over and ask them how everything was. He goes, yeah, everything is fine. And I think now his stomach was a little bit full, a little bit better than so he looked at my face. And he said, so what's next? I said, Sikh kebab. All right, what's come with Sikh kebab? I said, Sikh kebab comes with grilled veggies. Back then I used to do grilled veggies. And he said, what else? I said, a paratha. And he said, don't worry about the grilled veggies, just give me the Sikh kebab and paratha. And his wife was like, elbowed him, like, no, you have to eat the veggies. You have blood pressure. And he keeps looking at my face. He goes, you understand Punjabi? I said, yeah. He goes, blood pressure is not from the meat, it's from her. So once he was all filled up, smiling and about to leave, he comes back and he goes out of the door, opens the door, comes back, asks me to come back from the counter, shakes my hand, and then gives me the biggest hug. And he says, I've been in the United States for 42 years, and this is the level of respect which nobody has ever given to our cuisine, and you have done a great job. So I just took that as a baton, that he just handed me the baton. Okay, now you carry it. So for me, carrying that little promise that he gave me, that I need to pay the respect, which I never thought this will end up like this. So I think I used to be a photographer back in my life. So when I take a picture, I was freezing in the moment. So that's the photography all about. So now when I think about a restaurant, this is also a photographic exercise, but in a cuisine level. So I'm preserving the recipes by exercising them and giving it to people. And if you think about what is next for me, I think we have not done enough to bring the Pakistani Lahori or Sindhi biryani or something from Balochistan or something. We have not done enough for our part of the region.
Why is that, though?
Because we have not done enough we don't have enough outlets. We don't have enough restaurants in the United States or anywhere else which bring in the authentic recipes and keep the way they are and give them the respect that they deserve. And I think for me, that would be the next step, would be creating something that just preserves the real Lahori style food.
Mumtaz, you think, is it because we haven't studied the culinary arts as much as other cuisines have, or why do you think it's just not there yet?
I mean, I think it depends where you are. Like, my parents live in Houston, and I think there are a few people who've managed to do it. There's a place called Himalaya. In fact, Anthony Bourdain endorsed it. He did go there, and he absolutely loved the dhaga kebabs and the biryani and all of that. In New York, I keep telling Sibte, I'm like, please help me and let's do another restaurant. I once fed him so he would help me with my mother's website. So, after that, he has, he's given me a bit of respect with the food space because he's not an easy person to please at all. So when he said, do it, I take that as an endorsement. And I think that, if a lot of people want to do it, a lot of people have the talent, a lot of people have the recipes. And a lot of the recipes, I don't think you need to be formally educated. I think they're recipes that we create and that are carried down from our heritages and our grandmothers and our mothers. So New York is not the easiest place to live and to survive. And that's why I've seen Sibte through his struggles to his success. And I commend him because, you have to put it all out there. You have to make it your everything. And that's probably one of the reasons that, there's not as many in terms of Pakistani representation, at least for me, right? What do you
Yes, I agree. And not that I had a culinary background. I've never worked in a restaurant before, nor I've dealt with desi customers, the worst. I swear. I swear. No matter what you give them, I swear they will come up with one thing which they think the dish needs that. So I think we don't need culinary arts per se. It's not the lack of. I think it's somebody just needs to take a step. And I've been pushing Mumtaz that she needs to open up a restaurant. That would be epic.
We'll be collecting investments as you guys exit out.
One thing for sure, the restaurant is going to look amazingly beautiful, for sure.
And then you can guide me.
I will.
Amazing. I think, that's all we have time for right now, but I will end this quote with this quote from Bourdain. Your body is not a temple, it's an amusement park. Enjoy the ride. Please thank my panelists, Mumtaz and Sibte. And we'll take questions.
Microphones on the side, and raise your hands if you have a pressing question.
Thank you. I've read some times ago about eating with your own hand and the sensory and the aroma and all that. Could you address that? And, we have gone out of the fashion of eating with our fingers. Now we use the utensils. So share with me if you have any experience or thoughts about going back to the old-fashioned eating with our fingers.
Is the mic on? Okay. When you come to BK Jani, there's no utensils given to you. You have to prove the reason why you need them. And when people ask me, I need a fork and a knife for lamb chops, and I just look at them like, there's a bone, you need to pick it up. And like, but why? I'm like, if you want to wash your hands, there's a bathroom. Like, you can wash your hands. I tell people it's very essential that you need to touch your food. And then I will only give it to them if they have a couple of other people sitting and they need to share something. Otherwise, I encourage people to try it, and it won't hurt them. And you should see the reaction, especially the Desi people, like, what do you mean? Like, I won't get a fork and a knife? No, it's a burger. Pick it up. Yeah.
Yes, please.
I have a short question. Apart from had Mumtaz's food and I've been to your restaurant. But when you talk about burger and bun kebab, I think politically it becomes ye burger hai, ye bun kebab hai. Being a Karachi wala, I wonder how, when we put it together with being upper class, middle class, how this is something that's mixed in. And I wondered if you had a bun kebab version, whether it's a taco or something you serve at your restaurant, just for the fun of it.
Yeah, I have not made a bun kebab because people already have a problem paying for what I'm pricing my stuff with. And now they're going to bring it further down. They probably want this to be free and taken two to go. So there's a reason I want to keep the meat as the focus, because the bun kebab takes you to a different style. But maybe one day, just for a day or two, I can throw a bun kebab in the menu, maybe for an Eid day or something.
I feel like you were talking about an ande wala burger at some point, so there was inspiration.
Yes, I have an ande wala burger that is entirely, purely ande wala burger. There's nothing, there's no mix in it. But maybe I can do a bun kebab night. I will put that on Instagram one day.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do something.
Young lady in the front. Thank you.
Not to exclude you, Mumtaz, sorry, but this one's for Sibte and Zarrar in particular. Where would you take Bourdain for Nahari in Lahore?
That's an easy one for me. Mohammadi is the best
Varis.
by far.
Varis.
Thank you.
Varis. No, we'll take him on a Friday night. We'll take him to Mohammadi, and a Saturday, if his stomach is still okay, to Mohammadi. Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah, please.
Hi, I don't want to cause conflict here, but I'm from Hyderabad, India, and we pride ourselves on our biryani. So, I'm throwing the gauntlet. What's your view on Hyderabadi biryani versus anywhere else? And also, why should it be versus? It's all, it's one more tool in the toolkit in the sense. But I love the fact that there are a lot of commonalities in our cultures and we can take back and forth. And I really look forward to eating at restaurant that you're going to open up, Mumtaz, wherever it is, I will come.
Well, speaking of Hyderabadi food, my father's from, his father's from Hyderabad. So I did grow up with a lot of delicious Hyderabadi food, and one of it being Hyderabadi biryani and those kind of tastes. So I'm just a biryani obsessed person. So it doesn't, I'm open to Sindhi biryani, Hyderabadi biryani, literally any kind of dish that brings together the meat and as a Karachiite though, I do think that aloo is very important in a chicken biryani. And thank you. It's really upsetting when there's no aloo in the biryani, right?
Never had that much excitement for a potato. Sibte, why isn't biryani such a big thing in the Punjab? We do pulao more, but biryani's not a thing.
No, we have biryani, and I have biryani. I can make you one.
Cool.
And I can invite anybody who wants to show up, and for a biryani day, I can make biryani. Actually, we have some at right now.
I was trying to convince Sibte and these guys to get everyone some street food today, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, if it was 20 people, it's okay, but you can't just show up with bite-sized food to a auditorium. So everyone's welcome to Sibte's restaurant.
Yes.
Can I finish the answer to that question, Hyderabadi biryani versus everything? I don't think there's a versus. It's less like our accents. We all have our own accent. It's perfectly fine. As long as I can understand if I like your biryani, you like my biryani, we're fine. That's it.
Thank you. Over there in this corner.
Can Sibte and Mumtaz please comment on one of the biggest rivalries in Pakistan, Lahori food versus Karachi food?
Yeah, this has always been it's the dances at the weddings, who's better, Karachi or Lahore, and then the food. I think we have our own specialities, right? I think biryani, Karachi. I think nihari, Karachi.
Hell no. Hell no.
I thought that I was quite excited to try halwa puri out in Lahore, which I did this time at the Lahore Lit Fest in Feb. And I was not blown away. I was intrigued at the idea of having lassi with the halwa puri nashta, which is something I hadn't seen in Karachi. These boys are about to destroy me, so I'm going to leave. No, but Sibte?
I think there's nothing wrong with either, is the way we think. Karachiites usually think of us as very low people.
No.
They don't know how to cook. As one of my Karachi, he's a Maiman customer. He's awesome, and he's the guy who made me make nihari. He said the only difference between Karachi people and Lahori people, Karachi and Lahore, is Karachi knows taste and Lahore knows volume.
Yeah, and like to remind everyone, we are at the Lahore Literary Festival.
So, Mumtaz, looking forward to your restaurant. Since Shazan closed, I'm dating myself. I've been here since 1980. Since Shazan closed, there hasn't been a really nice Pakistani restaurant in New York City. And for BK Jani, are you planning to open more branches of BK Jani? Scalability and quality is some balance that is important for your next phase, I think.
As you know that I'm sitting right here and my businesses are running, so that means the quality is being maintained. The only thing is you cannot please a desi.
Still.
So no matter what you do, come over to my place, any of my restaurants, and stand behind the counter. I don't think you have enough hair to pull. Yeah, you're like me. That's why I lost all my hair. Yeah, you'll be surprised. No, I don't want to open up more. I think I'm happy right now. It's a good balance.
So how is sort of Pakistani food changing, like looking forward, right? We look a lot at the past and preserving the flavors and tradition, right? But, you know, in places like perhaps the UK or America, right, where there's no Karachi and Lahore, right? How is Pakistani food changing both back home, but also like in places like New York City or, you know, Chicago, Houston?
I mean, I guess like anything else, it does evolve. You know, I would have never imagined going to culinary school when I was applying to colleges. I would have loved to, but I just thought that was something, you know, like my mom taught me a lot of things, and I came to America and I started to cook just because it was out of necessity, and then it began, people liked my food, I would then feed my friends. But a lot of people have come here and learned, you know, that's where the whole fusion space also kind of came in. And I think there is a fine line, but I love that people are, you know, playing around with various techniques, spices, bringing it all together, because really, and especially in New York, we're like a melting pot. So I'm always looking forward to new food experiences, especially if they're inspired by our part of the world. And similarly, and I think, I mean, we have the authentic, and then we have, you know, the play. Similarly, I mean, you talk about Desi Chinese food. I cannot find a good Desi Chinese food restaurant in New York, but in Pakistan, it's like the best thing ever. So it really, you know, everyone has their own translation, but it's evolving, right?
It's evolving, and then there's a mutation also. How many people would agree that chicken kebab should not exist?
What do you mean chicken kebab?
Chicken kebab should not exist. Chicken kebab always has to be lamb or beef. No chicken kebabs. That's just wrong. And I was blown away about one of my friends said that this is the best Sikh kebab. And I opened it and I'm like, what is this? It's chicken. And I said, just no. And I put it back, like that's wrong.
All right, before we start another war, we have one question left. Yes, please. You put your hand up. Yeah.
This is kind of a related question to the fusion bit you were talking about, but how do you feel about the appropriation that's happening? I was quite appalled to see naan crackers at Trader Joe's. What do you think the future is when it comes to our food?
No, but it's interesting, the naan crackers or the chai tea, right? But, and that was, I guess it depends on the intent. I mean, some people get really upset about it, and there's a lot of ranting on social media. Having said that, like I've written a book about like 12 different types of food from different parts of the world, and I was very careful to say we are in no way appropriating any of it. So we try to keep, I mean, we have to respect the tradition and the culinary kind of background it comes from. While we respect that, I think it's okay to make it more accessible. I love that people have access to naan crackers. I love that at Trader Joe's, I was so excited to see frozen lasan adrak in the freezer section, because that's something that, you know, I mean, I know there's Central America, they use it too, but for us, I was like, oh, wow, this is a great thing. I don't have to make fresh ginger garlic every single day, and I hate the bottle one, because it just feels synthetic. This was so, I mean, it's nice to see. I mean, it's nice to see people get inspired and kind of create, because we have, our food is the best food in the world. isn't it? So why not? Yeah.
On that note, we agree on something. And please give it up to Sibte and Mumtaz one more time.